In Chapter 1 in Black Myth Wukong, there is a waterfall that you can find that allows you to open it, though you have to go through very specific steps to open it and fight a dragon. I'll be going over all the rewards you get from fighting this dragon and how this specific dragon links into a much larger questline later on in Black Myth Wukong. Before we can open this in Chapter 1, we first need to go to Chapter 2. Once you're in Chapter 2, progress Chapter 2 until you start fighting the King of Flowing Sands and the second Prince of Flowing Sands. Now there's two different ways you can do this. You can defeat the King of Flowing Sands first, and that will make this fight harder because you didn't have to defeat the second Prince of Flowing Sands. Or you can defeat the second Prince of Flowing Sands first, and the king will then run away, making the next step to actually opening up the waterfall much easier. This is a mandatory boss fight, so it's one way or the other you go through this boss fight. Now again, I say you kill the second prince first because if you kill the second prince, you only have to fight one of them, but if you kill the king first, the second prince is actually going to get a lot stronger and a lot harder to kill, making this entire fight that much more difficult. Now whichever option you end up going with, you are going to be able to continue on to this next part where you have to fight the first son of the Flowing Sands. Now in my playthrough, I killed the second prince first, which automatically has the king summon the first prince, but don't worry, if you killed the king first, you will get a chunk of meat that you use to summon the first prince. It's just an extra step that you have to go to the edge where you see the king to summon him that way. Either or, the first prince can be summoned, and it's not a required boss fight either. Now here's the main important part. When the first prince is summoned, you're going to see a decorative wall that you need him to charge into. At some point, he's going to do several different charging attacks, and any one of them that hits this wall is going to break it open. That is what you're looking for, because after you defeat the prince, you need to go inside this crack. Now don't worry if you don't have the prince actually destroyed this wall. There are a couple different transformations that can crack this wall if you want to do it that way. Obviously, summoning the first prince makes it much easier to crack this wall, but if you don't want to fight him, you can use the Wandering White transformation to destroy the wall as well. Now that the first son is defeated, go to the wall and simply go in. This is going to transport you to an entirely different area inside of Chapter 2. Now there isn't going to be anything inside of this chamber except for a chest that you need to open up. Inside of this chest is going to be the Loong Scales, the necessary item to open up this waterfall, and another one inside of Chapter 2, but that's a different video. So now that you have these scales, go to any teleportation area and go back to Chapter 1. Now to be more specific, I want you to go outside the Forest of Wolves section of the Chapter 1 area. Now this area is going to be the easiest and fastest way to actually get to the waterfall, which if you haven't come across already in Chapter 1, is still very easy to find, and you're going to have to fight across a bunch of random enemies in addition to some tougher enemies. To be more specific, there's going to be one of the crow enemies that lunges at you from varying distances right in front of the waterfall that you need to defeat first before you can interact with the waterfall. Once this is done, you will see the examine action that allows you to explode the waterfall and dissipate it entirely, which allows you to then go further into another broken side of the wall, which takes you to an entirely different arena. Once you enter this area, you're going to be automatically thrown into a boss fight of one of 4 very specific dragons that are part of a much larger quest line throughout the entire game of Black Myth Wukong. But let's focus on actually defeating this guy first. Red Loong is not really a difficult fight, but you do need to make sure you are careful of all the varying lightning attacks that he will throw at you. You want to focus when you knock him down after several hard hits to go for the little devices on his back. Those are his major weak points, and you can do major damage to him when you're knocking him on the ground and hitting those very specific spots. Easier said than done, I know, but take your time with this fight. It is not that difficult. Once you have defeated this dragon, you will get a very short cutscene that won't spoil for you, but you will also be shown a golden chest that you need to go and interact with to get your major prizes for defeating this dragon. You will be given a long pearl, which you get from every single one of these dragons, but more importantly for this dragon, you get the Thunder Tail, which is used to craft a very specific staff in the early 2 chapters. This tail is really only used for one specific staff, so you might as well use it when you're able to craft it. You'll also get the Bowshine Sensor, and I'm probably butchering the name, but it's definitely a curios that you can use early on if you don't like a build of other curios that you're given throughout the game. Nonetheless, these are some great rewards for defeating this first dragon. And the staff that I mentioned can be crafted after you defeat the Chapter 2 secret area with the other dragon, but to give you an idea of what you're going after if you haven't defeated Chapter 2 already, is the Long Wreath Staff. As you can see, you need the Thunder Tail to actually craft this, as well as the Thunder Bone, which you get from defeating the Chapter 2 dragon. If you're following along with your progression of the game with this little guide, this is a great staff to pick because it's going to be a lot stronger than some of the early game staffs that you get by simply regularly progressing the game. But for the purposes of this video, that is how you can get behind the Chapter 1 waterfall to get to the secret area to fight this secret boss, the Get Loong Dragon. Again, this is part of a larger questline, which I will have a video out soon, detailing locations, rewards, and the weapons you can unlock by completing and fighting every single one of these dragons. Nonetheless, I hope you guys found this particular dragon guide helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below so I know that you did find it helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.